Your website is slow. And what's worse is you probably don't even realize it. You have no insights into how quickly it's really loading for your customers and how it's affecting your business and your brand overall. Serge here, That Marketing Geek, and today I'm going to dive into those tools that you can use to diagnose not only what the problem is, but how to resolve it. I'm making this video for you today because I have this conversation with business owners almost on a weekly basis. Such a common thing, and it gets overlooked all the time. Either web developers overlook it or marketers overlook it. You certainly are busy enough with your business. This is not on the top of your radar, but I'm hopefully going to persuade you today that it should be on your radar, and for several reasons. Number one is the first thing people encounter when they're looking for your service, even if it's for a word of mouth or referral, is quite often your website. Your website is the first part of your business they encounter. And a slow website can actually have a negative impression of your business. You know what it's like to go to a website that loads very slowly. It just leads to sometimes a lot of unconscious assumptions about how reputable the business is. Do they run their business well? It's nothing favorable. Matter of fact, this has been researched to death by large companies. And the same psychological effects that take place when websites are really slow, if it's for e-commerce giants like Amazon that know they lose money, right? Those principles trickle down to the small business owner. Now, I know what you're thinking. My website's fast, isn't it, right? Well, wrong. It could be fast, and there might be a handful of you watching this right now where your website actually is fast. So I'm going to show you a tool in a second, and if your website is fast, after you run this tool, go ahead and pat yourself on the back. But you still might want to pay attention because there's about 4 pitfalls that typically get made on a website. For the rest of you that actually have a slow website and you don't realize it, it's because you visited your website several times before, so your website is cached. I could reload this article, right? And this article is going to reload. See how quickly that was? That must be insanely quick. Well, the reality is I've already been to this website. I've been to Fast Company. I've loaded this article already, and my computer has saved elements of the memory of this site in its memory. It's been cached, essentially. And that's why my experience is not the experience of the first-time visitor to the site. So you can continue to go online and do some research if you want, but this has been thoroughly researched, and it's widely known to anyone who has spent some time looking into it that delays cost you in many ways. Here's another research. A 1-second delay in page load time equals 11% fewer page views, a 16% decrease in customer satisfaction, and 7% loss in conversions. Now, that might mean people are just slightly less engaged on your website, which would really suck to know, right? You've spent time building a digital version of your business online that represents you and hopefully does your brand justice. But just keep in mind, people love fast websites. People love fast everything. Matter of fact, for the most part, if your phone is a little slow and you click on an app and it doesn't open in the half a second you think it should open, you might get a little bit annoyed at it. The same thing happens with your computer. Every time it lags, these are micro frustrations that can build. So notice too, I didn't take you to a tech website. I took you to a business website. And that's because the industry is just well aware that this is something that affects you. It affects your bottom line, it affects people's impression of your business. And here's the real crux of it. Google knows this. And because Google knows this, and Google is well aware that people love fast websites, it's going to penalize your business. It's going to penalize your website, and you get less visibility when people do a search online for your services. So don't let this affect your rank. Take a look at this and be well aware of what affects it and what goes into having a quick website. So there are 4 common reasons why you might have a slow website. Now, there's more than what I'm just going to talk on here, right? You could just maybe have too many tabs open on your computer. You know, people have 50 tabs open because of things they tell themselves they're going to do later in life. But the reality is, your experience on the website, whether you have too many tabs and it feels really slow, that's a local issue that I can't solve, or anyone could solve. Or maybe they have a slow connection to the internet, or they're on a mobile device with not the best reception, or maybe your website is really slow. So here's how you're going to figure that out. You're going to look for and use a few tools: GTmetrix, P3 Profile, and Uptime Robot. Now, what do these help you do? What do they help you answer? Well, the first one will help you answer one question. So this is number one. Number one is hosting. Often, well, not often, let me correct myself here. Most of the time, businesses get shared hosting plans, meaning your website is next to a whole bunch of other websites, and you don't know what those websites are. Some of those websites could become very popular, and they would begin to consume a lot of the resources of that server, and it slows you down. And sometimes the hosting company itself, and let me just tell you, if you have a big name company that you're using, even if they have commercials on TV, that doesn't mean you're going to escape this. Sometimes they could be just the biggest culprit in this slow website scenario and overloading servers as any other company could be. So Uptime Robot is just going to check on that for you. It's just going to let you know, is your site going down? And your site is going down. Here's the thing, everyone's site goes down. It's impossible to have 100% what's called uptime. So the question is it going down unreasonably frequently and for long periods of time? Typically, you'll see the website go down maybe really early in the day, or late at night, maybe when no one's using it at 2 in the morning. But this tool will email you when your website does. Now, the other tool that you'll use is GTmetrix, and GTmetrix will also give you a clue if your site is not responding very quickly from the server itself. So just so we can have some more concrete examples to kind of dig into, I picked a business. Now, I just did a random search for gyms in San Diego, just looking around in our backyard here. And what I'm doing is just getting something for us to kind of use as a test. I don't know these people. I've never talked to them before. I have no reason to single them out. This is just an example that I'll be using so that you can kind of see some real world results. So here they are. Here's perform360.com. And this is what GTmetrix is telling us. For the website to fully load, it's taking 18 seconds. Now, one thing I want to point out right away is when you visit this website and you load it for yourself, it's going to look like it loads a lot faster. Again, this is part of the confusion why people think their website's much faster than it actually is. And that's because what you see, everything that's above the fold, this is an old marketer's term, you know, everything you see before you'd have to turn the page, so to speak, will load usually first, and then you have this impression the website's done loading. But it's not. It's still churning, and it's still cranking all these elements below the page out and rendering the whole thing. And that's what this number is. And that's the number that Google's a little more concerned about. It's not really concerned if what you just see is kind of quick. It wants to know how long this whole thing takes to load. What size is it? How many requests have to be made? So what I would urge you to do is to click on this waterfall tab, and what this will show you is the sequence of things you had to download for your browser, right? For Safari, for Chrome, for Firefox, whichever browser you're using, you had to get the instructions for that browser to show this. So that's what this is telling a story of. And the first part of the story is, hey, we tried to call on this URL and tell the server to give me that web page. And that whole process took 2.4 seconds, which is a long time in the world of web development. In the world of internet usage, just 2.3 seconds is a long time. Another thing I can see kind of scrolling down is we have some larger file sizes here. It looks like there's a whole bunch of images. You can see right here, These are JPEGs, .jpegs. So these images that are loading are 3/4, 750 megabytes, 3/4 of 1 megabyte. And I can see it's loading a whole bunch of them. So just at a glance, I've already noticed two things. It's taking a while to load. The server is not acting very quickly. And I can see some of the images that are contributing to this overall size of the website that needs to get downloaded. So that's number 2, images. Images are often not compressed and sized and cropped the way they should be. So if you have Photoshop, this is something I would go find out what these images are. And they're the slider. They're the first things. Here we go. So you can actually click on this and visit this image to see specifically which image this is and which image this is, which is, I mean, it's creeping up on 1 megabyte, a whole image. Not necessary, way too big. This number could be closer to 100. It could be almost, 1/8 the size it is right now. And if you were to do that, you could probably save this website 2, maybe even 3 megabytes. Just right off the bat, you'd cut the size in half. Imagine what that would do to speed this time up. And then you can focus on the hosting, which maybe that's a call to the company. Maybe that's a different hosting company, right? We'd have to kind of unpack that a little bit more. One thing I also want to let you know that as you use this tool, these grades you're going to get here are not as relevant as you initially think, right? It just wants us to check a whole bunch of things off this list. Did you do A, B, C, D, E, right? If you didn't do them, bad score. But that's not really what I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about you minimizing your redirects or minifying your JavaScript. That might have a high impact, and it does, but this is Greek to you, right? You're trying to do this number right now. You're trying to focus on getting this lower, and there are several things you can do that I'm touching on. So again, to recap, number 1 is hosting. There's a couple ways I showed you to begin addressing that and being aware of how much hosting is affecting you. And so that's right under here in the waterfall tab. That's the first thing we see loading, 2.3 seconds just to get a response from the server. The next thing is images. So let me go back to this website here, because this is actually, let me just go on a tangent real quickly. I'll get on my soapbox. Images, especially set up like this, what's commonly called a slider, where you get these just rotating, this carousel, if you will, are widely loved by business owners, right? They get to feature this great photography and kind of show people an element of their business. But from a marketer's perspective, everything above the fold, everything that you initially see when the website loads, is your prime real estate. This is where you should be thinking about to leverage to the best of your advantage to get somebody excited about coming into you or seeing what offers you have or understanding more about a program. To tell that story, you need more than just images. This area up here can be used better. There's no text. I don't know if any of these exercises are part of a class. Are these private trainings that they're doing? Is this, is he a part of some special event? Could I do this thing? Is there a bring your kids? What is this? They look great, so I won't bash them for putting up bad photography. But as a marketer, there could be text that I could click on that could take me forward, right? I want you to show me the door. Where can what can I walk through? Now you have a start here, which is nice, but again, you could be using all of this space a little bit better. So just in my opinion, sure, this might be affecting your website speed, but you could also think about using this as well, because the plugin that's actually running this is part of the culprit for why this might be a little slow. So that being said, let's move on to number 3, which is embeds. Now, luckily the site is actually running an embed too. So let me show you what that looks like. It's this YouTube video right here. Now, not all embeds are slow, so I'm not going to say never embed. It's just one thing to be aware of. A common culprit, and YouTube is better than this than Vimeo. Vimeo is worse. Their servers are even slower. But an embed is essentially like you kind of cutting a hole in your website and then showing part of another website. So this video, it looks like it's on this site. It's not really on the site. From a technical perspective, it's actually playing from YouTube. So you're looking at YouTube right now. So when this web page loads, it has to go out and fetch that YouTube video so it can be displayed here and look like it's a part of this. The same thing that happens if you have Google Maps, right? Sometimes people love to put a little map right here. That's a real embed. So if you have this map down here, the website has to cut out a space for it. It gives instructions to go out and fetch the map, but that's another thing that you have to wait for. So little tricks that I like to do is to take a screenshot, an image of the map, and put it here, and then let that image connect to your contact page where the actual embed can live, right? Because we're trying to speed up your home page. Your home page is one of the most important pages on your website. You could have a slow contact us page, that's fine. Or if you have another page where you want to put all the videos and that could be a little slower, that's okay too. I love video, so I'm not going to ever discourage people from using video. It creates a powerful impact. It can really help transmit information, and it can help you tell your story better. So I don't want to ever disparage people from doing video. I always encourage my clients to go out and produce as much video as you can. But just be aware, if you put the video on your home page, it could slow things down. So think about how it gets implemented. Number 4 is plugin. So let me just wrap up here by touching on what a plugin is. Now, this won't be applicable to you if you don't have a WordPress website. But since most websites these days are getting built on WordPress, this is a WordPress website, and most websites getting built today are using WordPress. It's the most popular platform to utilize. It has an Achilles heel, and occasionally that heel is the bloat that comes from plugins. And plugins are those things that give the website additional functionality. So here's one. This one was actually developed by GoDaddy. So which they did, kudos to them, because they had so many people complaining of website speed, and sometimes that was their fault. And sometimes that was just because people didn't know what they were doing with WordPress. So there's this plugin, and what you can do is just go into your dashboard, and when you're signed into your WordPress website, and under plugins, you're going to go into here, you're going to add it, activate it, and then run a scan. So it's all fairly straightforward. If you go in your plugin section, you'll see an add new button there, and you can just start that process. Search for P3 and it will come up right away. I've run it on my website, but this isn't going to be very exciting because my website is really, really fast. As a matter of fact, the actual full load time for my website is 2.2 seconds. It's screaming. You don't have to get your website down to 2 seconds. And again, you can see here, there's a couple things it thinks I should do still, but it's so optimized and it's running so quickly. I don't need, I'm 99% to as fast as this thing could ever be, unless I want to be taking out elements. But I'm just showing you this plugin just so you can get an idea. Now, what this plugin is going to do is going to look at other plugins, and it's going to determine, are there any of these that you should be especially concerned about? Is there any plugin that's taking up 1/3 or half or more of the potential load that a website undergoes when it has to produce all of the HTML that a person has to download to view the site? You're not going to see a red flag here. You can see some of the plugins I'm using. The story it tells is, okay, WordFence, a security plugin, is probably the most resource heavy plugin. Now, it's saying it could potentially be having an impact of almost 0.7 of a second. But that doesn't mean if I delete WordFence that I get 0.7 of a second quicker here, right? Just so you know, there's a little bit of a disconnect here because I have another plugin called W3 Total Cache that's minifying. It's doing some caching. It's doing some work to compensate for what some of these plugins might be doing. Hopefully this was helpful. In general, I have 18 plugins, and I try to aim for about 12. Don't go nuts here. Just don't go, people get excited by plugins and they begin just adding more and more, and I'll see websites that have 30 plugins. You don't need 30 plugins to do stuff. If you do, that probably was a sign the people that developed it didn't know how to do things like put Google Analytics on your website without a plugin. So just be aware, less is more when it comes to the plugin realm. It can impact your website speed. Look to see how you're utilizing embeds, if at all, on your website. Make sure those images that you're utilizing, and again, especially on the homepage, that's where it kind of matters the most, that they're the correct format, they've been resized properly. If you're going to do a slider, understand how to best use it. I think, and this is just as a marketer, my own opinion, you should really have some text with this as well, right? So you're telling a story, and that you're showing people what to do next. Otherwise, I'm just spending my time here, and now I'm skipping past it, right? It's consumed your prime real estate, and I'm going to be done with it in a fraction of a second. So there's 4 things and 3 tools. Be sure to check out Uptime Robot if you're concerned about your website's downtime. Be sure to use GTmetrix, which will allow you to get some of those insights that I showed you in terms of how your website loads. There's other tools as well. There's like Google PageSpeed Insights, but if you use PageSpeed Insights, it's not going to give you the same information in the same way. It won't be quite as user-friendly, even though, I mean, you can see here that it's still telling a story, that there's some work that needs to be done, but it's not giving it to you in the same kind of helpful way. It's more of a what a developer would like to see. And P3 Profiler. So I'll provide links to all 3 of these down in the description of the video. Please like my channel if you haven't already, if you want to keep connected to That Marketing Geek and the ongoing content I'm going to be producing. And if you have any ideas, digital marketing questions that you think I should answer, then go ahead and reach out to me on the Learn page where you're possibly watching this video. You'll actually see a form, and go ahead and just drop me a suggestion. What would you like me to talk about? How can I help give you some information about digital marketing questions? I talk to businesses every day about websites, about search engine optimization, about social media, about pay-per-click, about what really makes sense for them, because sometimes those solutions become much more apparent once we have a discussion about your business, your industry, and the way people search online, right? And once you kind of flush out what might work better for you, that will give you some clarity. You'll get an idea for, okay, maybe I should be going down more of a social media route. Maybe SEO should really be a part of a long-term strategy. Maybe pay-per-click, right? It depends on a whole host of criteria, and I would love to talk to you about that. So thanks for staying tuned, for watching. I appreciate it so much, and hope to see you soon. Bye.